Hey folks, I'm working on this cool little project in my Jeep, and I thought I'd record a quick little video on what it is I'm doing. So, I've been on this sort of hunt to get a decent in-cab video, right? A lot of people use GoPros, as you can see up here, this thing here. I've got a broken mount here that I used to mount my GoPro onto. Somebody climbing into the back of the Jeep hit it and broke it. I may fix that, but basically the point of that was with the GoPro mounted here, you could see what I was doing, right? And I have some videos on YouTube that show that vantage point, and I do like the way it worked out. But the problem I find with GoPro videos in a Jeep, when they're mounted, you know, up on the dash or on the roll cage or the hood or whatever, as the Jeep tilts, right, the camera tilts with it, right? So you don't get perspective. You don't really get the feel, that seat of your pants. You know, the Jeep is tilted, so the camera tilts with it. You can sort of get it by looking at the horizon or by looking at the ground or whatever. So I've been thinking more and more about how to solve that, and I did a little bit of research. And the thing it sounds like I want is a gimbal, okay? And I've seen some pretty expensive gimbals that are handheld, that you can walk around with, and they do the same thing that I'm talking about. But like I said, they're $200-300, and they're just not. I don't know. I didn't feel like that was the right solution. They also were handheld, right? They didn't look like they'd mount all that easily. So what I did some searching for were gimbals that I could mount on something, and I found this. Okay, and the camera is not included, but I'll talk more about the camera in a minute. But this is the Tarot 2D brushless gimbal. You can see it. Okay, so it's meant to mount on the bottom of a drone. Okay, and it's got some cool little controls so that you can actually wire the controller on your drone. You know, the controller that you're flying your drone with. If you have an extra stick or whatever on the controller, which you can buy controllers that are designed to do this, you can control the gimbal from the stick. But that's not really what I wanted. What I wanted was just I wanted to keep the camera level while I'm driving, right? So I picked up the gimbal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig up the links where I got the gimbal from and whatever. I think the gimbal was something like $30, which only, I didn't know this at the time, but it only included the hardware. Not, you see this little circuit board? That's the gyro. That's what actually controls the gimbal, right? And I'll show you what I mean by controls in a minute. But that didn't come with it. That cost me another $20 or $30 if I remember. So I'm under $100 into this thing. The problem I then had was that the GoPro that I had, it was a GoPro Hero, the old style, not the Hero 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. Those are like $400 or $500 cameras. Again, I didn't want to spend that much money. So I found these $50 GoPro knockoffs. It's called a 4K action camera. Almost identical form factor to a GoPro, right? So I picked up one of them, again, $50. I figured I'll give it a try, see if it fits. And it fits perfectly. See, there's this little cradle that it sits in? There's supposed to be a bracket that goes around the camera to hold it tight, which looks like it'll probably fit. But it fits snug enough for my testing that it's fine the way it is. So, as you can tell, I got this thing wired up, and I'm sitting here in my Jeep. Here, I'm going to flip the camera around quick, if I can find the... I can't flip the camera around, apparently. Alright, so I'll just turn the camera around. Here we go. You can't really see it that well because it's dark in here, but I've got this wired into the fuse box behind my glove box. Happens to be where I wire my CB to, so I'm going to have to get a Scotch lock or something and piggyback the two of them together. So, alright, so here's the other thing. I've got it wired directly to the ignition at the moment. I'm going to have to put it on a direct battery or something, because the problem is, when you have the thing mounted, I'll show you what happens when you turn it on. Here, you can watch. You'll see a light come on the circuit board. See that green light flashing? Maybe you can't see it that well. It's yellow. That means that it's initializing. And when it's initializing, it's trying to figure out what orientation it's in, and then lock the cameras in the right, or lock those motors in the right position. And it's not able to happen unless it's completely still, which I think in the Jeep may be a problem. So I'm going to show you something else. If you take the Tarot and set it someplace like this on your dash so that it's nice and still and balanced and whatnot, and then turn on the ignition, you can see that light flash. Then you're going to see it jerk. I'm just putting my hand here to, there you go. Now you see the light blue. Now we're going to hold it upright. I don't know if you can hear that buzzing, but it's basically buzzing a little bit. But now, oh, let me. Now you can see the camera is straight. And it stays straight. Now it stopped buzzing. Isn't that cool, right? So now the idea is I'm going to mount this somewhere in the Jeep so that I can, you'll be riding in the Jeep, and as the Jeep tilts, the camera will not, right? So downhill, uphill, right? See how the camera's just staying straight, which I think is pretty darn handy, right? So in theory, what this will do is it'll give me a nice perspective, right? Maybe I'll keep the GoPro in the cab, but then this one will be mounted, I don't know, like on the dash here somehow, or like up here, right? So you can see out the front windshield. I don't know, we'll see. So yeah, that's what I'm working on now. Once I get it finished, my next goal is to figure out a mount for the dang thing. Once I get that finished, hopefully this will be, a cool little addition. All right, so there you go. Tarot 2 gimbal in a Jeep. We'll see. I'll make a new video once the mount's completed and once I figured out how well this thing works. Oh, something else I wanted to mention. Let me get this thing turned off. Because of that initialization feature, because it has to sit perfectly still to initialize, I don't think I'm going to be able to mount it permanently where I showed you. I'm going to have to be able to remove it and, set it on the dash, let it initialize, and then put it in place. So I have an idea how to do that. We'll see how it pans out. I also think what I'm going to have to do is keep the thing powered all day long. So beginning of the day, get in the Jeep, power, initialize it, get it mounted, start the Jeep up, whatever. And then as I turn the Jeep on and off, it keeps power, so that thing doesn't move, okay? So I think what I'm going to have to do is, come up with some kind of a clip system where it can be clipped in place and removed when it's not in use, or when I want to initialize it. So, yeah, there you have it. Like I said, more updates coming. Thanks for watching. Alright, so sooner than expected, I think I actually have this thing working. So first of all, that little voice you hear in the background, that's my daughter. She's been down here helping me. So don't ignore, or don't mind that. So here we go. There it is, on the dash, mounted and everything. I don't have it turned on at the moment, but check it out. And there you have it, centered. Let me show you what I've done. So, first of all, I want it removable, so I put it on a GoPro mount. Check it out. I also noticed that from my previous section of the video, I have this thing upside down. I found a nice YouTube video about how to flip the thing over, because it's meant to work the other way. Like I said, it's supposed to hang underneath a drone. So notice that now it's standing upright, which is perfect for the dash of my Jeep. Check out this little bracket on the bottom. So this is a clip from a cheap GoPro mount that I had. And this is a completely 100% Nate Fab adapter bracket, which goes onto the mounts on the bottom, or I should say what should have been the top of the Tarot gimbal. Now this is heat-forming plastic, which I had picked up for another project and never used. So here's how easy it just snaps right onto the dash. Ta-da! Fully functional. Awesome. And I can turn the Jeep on and off without having to worry about it. There it goes off. Back on again. Centered. I'm going to take it out for a test drive, and we'll see how it works. Pretty cool stuff. Awesome. So after a couple hours of work today, here's the finished product. This is pretty much like I showed it to you before.
Come on, sis.
Yes, you hear the kids again. So these two little connectors here, bullet connectors they call them, I have placed on the end of the power connector for the gimbal. Okay, I found out after a brief trial drive that well, the vibration of the dash after the motor was started was enough to keep this thing from centering and initializing. So what I had to do was hardwire it to the battery, or to at least something that has power all the time, and then either I had to rig up a switch, or since I wanted the thing removable anyway, I just figured I'll unplug it when I don't want to use it. Right? So when it's plugged in, it'll be on, whether the Jeep's on or not. So basically, I don't know if I can hold this and plug these in at the same time. Let's see if I can maybe prop up the phone or something. That kind of works. So I'm going to take these, I run them over here so they're out of the way, and then plug in the ground. Plug in the battery, and immediately you see it turn on. I have these little wires on my dash now that are kind of ugly, but whatever. And there it is. And then, pretty much, whether I start the Jeep, whether I have the Jeep running or not, this thing is on and ready to go. I just went for a good 20-minute test drive with the kids in the back, and went up and down some terrain and whatnot. Yeah, there we go. It has trouble initializing the first time around for some reason. Went up and down a bunch of hills. I went on a little bit of off-camber, nothing crazy, just enough to see the thing in operation. And I'm going to review the video now, and then I'll probably include it in this video. So yeah, there we go. Pretty cool. Gimbal for, like, I don't know, including the camera, I probably spent $100, $150 on this whole setup. So there you go.